What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we have a secret memo that the corporate press just so happened to get their hands on. Check this out, y'all. Trump's DOJ posts opinion justifying strikes against secret list of cartels. What's not so secret, is it, if you got your hands on it? I love this, y'all. I just love this narrative right here, because what they're going to do is they're going to take reality and be like, well, you know, reality, they're just claiming that reality is what it is. We're just not sure because for whatever, you know, because reasons. That's why. We have our reasons. It's insane, the narrative coming from these people. This is the Latin Times. They are very left, very woke, and very wrong about most of their opinions, y'all. Check this out. The Department of Justice released a secret opinion justifying strikes against cartels and suspected drug traffickers, according to a new report. Oh, is that so? Concretely, yes, concretely. The opinion issued by the Office of Legal Counsel claims that President Donald Trump is allowed to authorize deadly force against the targets because they pose an imminent threat to Americans, CNN reported. They didn't report it, so they can't get in trouble for reporting that. It was CNN that reported this. But hang on, that's just a factual reality. That is not a claim. Trump has designated these cartels as terrorist organizations, right? This is no difference than strikes on, I don't know, Osama bin Laden, for crying out, like that raid on Osama bin Laden, or strikes on the Taliban, or strikes on ISIS, or strikes in Iraq. Any of these places, like the strike on that terrorist guy from Yemen, I can't remember his freaking name right off the top of my head. Like, none of it, right? That was Obama for most of that. Like these people, they just refuse to admit reality is real. The outlet quoted legal experts who said the opinion is significant because it appears to justify an open-ended war against secret enemies. It also allows him to have them summarily killed without legal review, in contrast with past cases in which they got due process rights. I love that part right there. It's my favorite part of this whole news article, folks. Did Osama bin Laden get due process rights? Did Soleimani get due process rights? No, he didn't. Did the Taliban get did ISIS get due process rights? Did they? No, they didn't, folks. Once again, they are trying to pretend that what Donald Trump is doing, he's sending the Navy to go after drug traffickers, which that's what they are, but they are also narco-terrorists. No different than ISIS. So yes, he can do that, as a matter of fact. Once again, and the rationale to this, basically, is these people are trafficking fentanyl into the country. Fentanyl deaths have skyrocketed over the past several years. That is an imminent threat to Americans. That is going to kill Americans. There you go, folks. Plus, you know, these cartels just in general operate like terrorist organizations. They take out anybody that gets in their way. We know this. Just look at the last Mexican presidential election. As a matter of fact, where they took out, I think, 23 or 24 presidential candidates before finally deciding on Sheinbaum, of all people. That's just a factual reality. Once again, we know the death and destruction that comes from the human trafficking. Yeah, it's not just drugs that these people traffic. They traffic humans too, which is a vile, disgusting act. Yeah, you had to throw two qualifiers on top of that, because why not? Because that's just how sickening it is to traffic children into abusive situations where they'll get abused. I'm trying to be nice for the YouTubers, for the advertisers here, but it's absolutely sickening what's going on. And then what the corporate press is going to do is be like, well, they didn't get their due process rights. It's the same thing with the criminal aliens, folks. This is exactly what they do. You guys remember that fight from a couple months ago when the corporate press and all Democrats were like, well, they're not getting their due process rights. Well, you know what? Anybody that crosses our border illegally, you can go look this up if you want to, but you could take my word for it because we've litigated this several times. But anybody that comes across the border illegally, right, specifically illegally, and they are in the country within 2 years, guess what their due process rights are that are actually being violated? Guess what? What that is you get picked up by an ICE officer, you get sent to a detention facility, and then expeditiously deported as soon as there's a train leaving, folks. So next flight out, you're gone. That's it. No court hearings. None of that. None of those things. That is their due process. Same thing with any criminal alien that's beyond 2 years. Right? It's a similar situation. You don't have to go to court for all of these things. Right? The court hearings are for people that let their visas lapse. That type of thing. Asylum cases. That's what those courts are for. It's insane, but they don't tell you that, folks. They want to lie to you and say they're violating due process, which is just not true. Sarah Harrison, a former Associate General Counsel at the Department of Defense, the Department of War, said the opinion would mean DOJ has interpreted the president to have such extraordinary powers that he alone can decide to prosecute a war far broader than what Congress authorized after the attacks on 9/11. Is that so? Is that so? Is what Donald Trump doing in the Caribbean Sea right now far broader than what we did after 9/11? Right? Do you guys remember what happened after 9/11? 2 whole wars, Iraq and Afghanistan. That's what they're trying to tell you. That is a lie. Now, that's not coming from the corporate press. That's coming from good old Sarah Harrison, a former Associate General Counsel at the Department of War. Sorry. I try to correct myself as I go. And that's what they're trying. That's just an absurd statement, y'all. By this logic, any small, medium, or big groups, why not say large, small, medium, or big groups, that is trafficking drugs into the U.S., the administration could claim it amounts to an attack against the United States and respond with lethal force, she added when talking to the outlet. Again, narco-terrorists, folks. That's all I'm going to say. The Associated Press reported last week that Trump declared cartels as unlawful combatants and said the U.S. is now in a non-international armed conflict with them. That is true, folks. That, as a matter of fact, that has been the case for a very, very long time. That has been the case. We have been fighting the cartels on that southern border for decades, folks. For decades. This is nothing new. But once again, anytime the corporate press can take something, take a pig and spit shine that thing and try to present it to you as brand new. Well, you're still, trying to polish a turd here. It's still going to be a turd. The Associated Press detailed that the decision was notified to Congress members last Wednesday. Some lawmakers briefed on the decision, however, voiced their frustration at the Pentagon's inability to provide a list of the designated terrorist organizations in the conflict. The report added, "Is that so?" Well, you know what? That list has already been widespread for a while now. I know the Sinaloa cartel, just off the top of my head, the Sinaloa cartel, MS-13 is another one. I can't think of, there are several other ones, but I can't think of them. I'm sorry, you guys. But, just those two. I mean, that was reported not that long ago as well. But these people's memories are short. The outlet also noted that senators believe the decision shows the administration is seeking a new legal framework for its actions in the Caribbean, which includes several strikes against vessels it has claimed were carrying drugs and drug traffickers. The U.S. conducted its latest strike last Friday with Defense or War Secretary Pete Hegseth saying in a social media publication, that on President Trump's orders, he directed a lethal kinetic strike on narco-trafficking vessel affiliated with designated terrorist organizations in the U.S. Southcom area of responsibility. He went on to detail that 4 people were killed in the strike, which was conducted just off the coast of Venezuela, while the vessel was transporting substantial amounts of narcotics headed to America to poison our people. In this context, Trump has reportedly ended all diplomatic outreach to Venezuela, instructing envoy Richard Grenell to cease all efforts as he grows frustrated with authoritarian President Nicolas Maduro's reluctance to relinquish power. That is right, folks. And I also saw a news article, a headline. I didn't read the news article. I'm sorry for that, y'all. But I read a headline that said Maduro stopped. They claimed they stopped a false flag attack on the U.S. Embassy in Venezuela. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like it's unsubstantiated claims here. We can't substantiate that because Venezuela is a hellscape right now, and they don't allow journalists just to roam around free questioning the government. It is what it is, folks. But I love all this. This is so fascinating to me that the corporate press, or the Latin Times in particular, Sarah Harrison, they're trying to pretend that the United States has not conducted actions like this for a long time. Now, do we like these things? I don't mind it. This type of stuff, right? Strikes on terrorists. Sure, go right ahead. I'm fine with that. Take out the bad guys. It's not me doing it. Look, I'm not one for death and destruction, right? But if this is what the U.S. government's doing, I'm going to just sit back and say, hang on. These people know that there's hundreds of thousands of people every year overdose on these drugs that they're bringing in. So to me, that is attempted murder right there. It is what it is, right? Would I do it myself? Probably not. I couldn't pull that trigger. But that's just me. You know, I can't fault the government for doing it. They're just trying to protect our citizens, right? That's all they're doing. You know, it's not a great thing, I'll say that. It's not super great that people are dying. I wish these people would not engage in narco-terrorism, folks. That is a sad truth to this world. But that is a fact of this world that we must come to grips with. And it is also a fact that these gangs, these cartels, are terrorists. They terrorize not only the United States and they poison our people, but they also terrorize South America. Anybody involved, anybody that gets in their way, folks, they run them over. As a matter of fact, take them out of the game. So do they deserve it? Probably so, to be honest with you. It's a harsh reality of this country and of the world. It is a harsh reality, folks. But look, these people need to learn you can't just come into this country unfettered anymore. You could under Joe Biden. And we saw a massive increase in overdose deaths. I always have trouble saying that for some reason. Massive increase, but you know, it's coming down now. I love it, you know, I just love every minute of it. But I think that's all I got on this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Am I off the mark on here? Is this not very Christian of me to see this and be like, yes, they did what they did? Maybe not, but it is what it is, folks. Like I said, y'all let me know what y'all think. Don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere that you can. Click that join button, sign up, and become a member. That's the best way to help this channel expand and grow. But you guys remember that God does have a plan for everybody. You may not know what it is, but He's there, and He loves every single one of you out there. So you guys try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.